Hey everyone, this is Walter. We're back here to talk about the Supreme Gentleman once again. Elliot Rodger is known as the Virgin Killer and has been called the patron saint of incels by many. He outlined many cringy events in his life in his so-called manifesto, My Twisted World. So let's get back to discussing them with Elliot Rodger's Most Shameful Moments, Part 4. Last time we covered his problems with roommates in Isla Vista. When we left off, his friend James had to stop him from dumping his drink on some teenagers he was jealous of. A dark and ominous aura clouded over our friendship that day. When the two of us got back to James's house, I was still seething with rage. I didn't understand why James wasn't angry like me. The sight that we just witnessed was horrible to watch. To see another male be successful with females is torture for males like us who have no success with females. I was so angry that I told James of all the acts of revenge I wanted to exact on those popular boys. I told him my desire to flay them alive, to strip the skin off their flesh, and make them scream in agony as punishment for living a better life than me. James became deeply disturbed by my anger. I wished that he wasn't disturbed. I wished he could be a friend that felt the same way about the world that I did, but he wasn't that kind of person. He was a weakling. Once I had calmed down, the two of us had a long conversation in his room, and I ended up crying in front of him as I explained how hopeless I felt about life. Soon after that, I left his house, never to return there again. He will never invite me over after that incident, and our friendship will slowly fade to dust. Elliot's reasoning once again makes no sense. He's calling other people weak when he's the one who can't even be in a class with a couple in it. Check this out. After a couple of days, I decided to drop my history class. I couldn't stand watching those obnoxious popular boys talk to all the pretty girls in the class. The girls actually liked them. I should be the one they pay attention to, but they treated me like I was invisible. I didn't want to torture myself any longer. I felt a sense of guilt as I did it because I made a bid to make the best of my time in Santa Barbara. Once the class was dropped, I felt a sense of relief. I was still enrolled in the geography class, and it was only the summer session. I had plenty of time to make up for it. I do like how Elliot's living off his parents' money here and taking 2 classes at a time. I remember taking like 5 when I went to school, but yeah, this is far from the first time he's dropped classes for this kind of reason. He did it multiple times at his community college too. During the last few days that I had to endure living with those barbaric housemates, I often walked out to Isla Vista, hoping that I could meet a girl and take her home with me. I wanted to prove to them all that girls liked me, to see the look on their faces when they see a girl by my side. But of course I had nothing to prove because girls didn't like me. Every time I tried to go out and meet a girl, I ended up walking home alone in anger. On one of these nights, I crossed paths with a boy who was walking with 2 pretty girls. I got so envious that I cursed at them, and then I followed them for a few minutes. They just laughed at me, and one of the girls kissed the boy on the lips. I'm assuming she was his girlfriend. That was one of the worst experiences of torture from girls that I've had to endure, and it will be a scar in my memory forever, to remind me that girls think I'm unworthy compared to other boys. I ran home with tears pouring down my cheeks, hoping that my horrible housemates wouldn't be there to witness my shame. It's like he just tries to end every situation as pathetically as possible. Not only do most men not get mad about things like this, they probably don't even notice it. I'm sure I wouldn't. My usual day went as follows. I woke up alone in my bed with no girl beside me and did a few minutes of exercise before I showered and got ready for college. I then drove to Starbucks to have my morning latte and felt envious whenever I saw a young couple there. I would then attend my 2 classes where no one said a word to me, having to endure the torment of watching other guys talk to the girls I liked. And then I would go home, open the door to my lonely room, and feel absolutely miserable. The loneliness was suffocating. I could barely breathe. If only one pretty girl had at least given me a chance and tried to get to know me, everything would have turned out differently, but girls continued to treat me with disdain. How exactly is not talking to someone you don't know treating them with disdain? Elliot had his lonely room for 2 weeks before getting his next roommate, a short, chubby student about a year older than him named Spencer Horowitz. This did go a lot better than his last roommate situation, admittedly. In addition, I was a bit shocked when Spencer told me that he used to have a girlfriend. It was a casual comment that came out of a conversation we had. I didn't understand how a chubby and unattractive guy like Spencer would have been able to get a girlfriend while I've never had the chance to. The guy was 3 inches shorter than me, and even I am considered short for my age. Your age? He was an adult. I could not fathom how such a thing was possible, and I concluded to myself that this former girlfriend of his that he mentioned must have been just as unattractive as he was. There was no need for me to be jealous. It is completely impossible to not piss this kid off. After a few weeks of living with him, I realized that I had a psychological problem with his presence in my apartment. Even though there was no trouble between us, I hated having someone constantly in my vicinity to judge how pathetic my life was. I could hide the details of my lonely celibate life from the rest of the world, but I could not hide it from Spencer. The fact that I never had any girls over to my room was clear enough that I was an undesirable outcast, and I hated it when people knew this about me and judged me for it. Spencer was there to witness it all, and I would eventually come to hate him just because of that. Around this time, Elliot actually met some friends and was hanging out with them. But he stopped when he decided they weren't popular and couldn't help him get a girl. However, another vile incident would occur with his new roommate. So far, Spencer and I had gotten along quite well despite the fact that we never talked much. An incident happened at the end of January that changed all of this. I one day discovered that Spencer had a girl in his room. I couldn't believe it. The short, chubby guy was able to get a girl into his room before I did. I was so shocked and outraged that I waited outside his room until the girl left so I could get a glimpse of how she looked. To my relief, she wasn't that attractive. What made me even more angry is that Spencer gave me a smug look when I saw the girl, even though she was ugly. He had the nerve to feel like he was better than me, just because he managed to get a girl over to the apartment before I did. I confronted him in the kitchen on that same night, telling him that he is foolish to feel proud about having an ugly whore in his room. This made him angry and offended, which is what I wanted. I wanted to offend him as punishment for his insolence. After that incident, the two of us became more and more hostile towards each other. Well, you don't say. He really does talk like a shitty anime villain. Just listen to this whole next sequence. It was a bright sunny day as I ascended the familiar steps up to the beautiful college campus of SBCC. I immediately went to the restroom to look at myself in the mirror a few times, just so that I can feel more assured of myself. Yes, I thought, I am the image of beauty and supremacy. I kept saying it over and over again, as if it was a mantra. When I crossed the renowned bridge that connected the two halves of the campus, I felt as if everyone was admiring me. As I passed by groups of girls, I pretended to imagine that they secretly adored and wanted me. After all, that was how it was meant to be. The more I walked around the campus, the more I tried to convince myself that that was the case. My first class was sociology, and I waited until everyone was seated before I walked in. I came in through the front entrance so that everyone could look at my fabulous self. To my utter dismay, I saw that no one turned their head to look at me at all. No girl tilted a head or lifted a pretty little eyebrow at my approach. After all that effort, I was still being treated like I was invisible. Yeah, this isn't a red carpet event. Nobody's going to be wowed that you walked in wearing $500 sunglasses or whatever. And this incident also happened the first week of the semester. More dumping drinks on people. As I made my way back from school one day during the first week, I was stopped at a stoplight in Isla Vista when I saw two hot blonde girls waiting at the bus stop. I was dressed in one of my nice shirts, so I looked at them and smiled. They looked at me, but they didn't even deign to smile back. They just looked away as if I was a fool. As I drove away, I became very infuriated. It was such an insult. This was the way all girls treated me, and I was sick and tired of it. In a rage, I made a U-turn, pulled up to their bus stop, and splashed my Starbucks latte all over them. I felt a feeling of satisfaction as I saw it stain their jeans. I then quickly speeded away before they could catch my license plate number. How dare those girls snub me in such a fashion? How dare they insult me so? I raged to myself repeatedly. They deserved the punishment I gave them. It was such a pity that my latte wasn't hot enough to burn them. Those girls deserved to be dumped in boiling water for the crime of not giving me the attention and adoration I so rightfully deserve. I soon found out the name of the beautiful girl in my math class. Her name was Brittany. Being the obsessed stalker that I was, I looked her up on Facebook, and what I found shattered my already wounded heart to pieces. She had a boyfriend. Not only that, but her boyfriend was the type of boy I have always hated and despised. A tall, muscular surfer jock with a buzz cut. As I looked at all the pictures of the two of them together, I shivered with pure hatred. I could physically feel the hatred burn through my entire body. I wanted to kill both of them, and I was capable of doing it. Brittany should have been mine, and if I can't have her, no one should. I fantasized about capturing the two of them and stripping the skin off her boyfriend's flesh while making her watch. Why must my life be so full of torment and hatred? I questioned the universe with turmoil roiling inside me. I screamed and cried with anguish that day. My housemate Spencer heard it all, but I didn't care. Must have really been a blast to have Elliot as a roommate, so he dropped all of his classes after finding out this girl had a boyfriend. He had decided college wasn't worth it because his only chance to get what he wanted was to become extremely wealthy. This was also when he decided to enact a day of retribution if he wasn't able to become rich. I didn't want to do it. I wanted to live. Thinking about the day of retribution made me feel trapped. I wanted a way out. After some deep contemplation, I had the revelation that the day of retribution wasn't the only way I could make up for all the suffering I've had to experience. If I could somehow become a multi-millionaire at a young age, then my lifestyle would instantly become better than most people my age. I would be able to get revenge on my enemies just by living above them and lording over them. That was a form of happy, peaceful revenge, and it became my only hope. Once again, I started to desperately ponder over ways that I could become extremely wealthy at a young age. It was my only way out. So with the idea of getting rich, he set his sights on the lottery, a notoriously terrible way to make money. Let's read a few of his online quotes and then we're going to call it a day. Shoes won't help you get white girls. White girls are disgusted by you, silly little Asian. Never insult the style of Elliot Rodger. I'm the most stylish person in the world. Just look at my profile pic. That's just one of my fabulous outfits. The sweater I'm wearing in the picture is $500 from Neiman Marcus. And one more. If we can't solve our problems, we must destroy our problems. One day incels will realize their true strength in numbers and will overthrow this oppressive feminist system. Start envisioning a world where women fear you. Yeah, he sounds like a pretty reasonable guy. Anyway, that's about all the time I have for you today. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you liked the video, please give it a like. If you have something to say about Elliot or me or you, make sure you let me hear it in the comments. I do read them for the first day or so. If you're new here and want more, consider subscribing for more of the same kind of content. And now it's time to shout out my awesome patrons who help fund my lifestyle, whatever that is. It might not be as glamorous as Elliot's. Thanks so much, though. Jimmo, Alatuna Dan, Enui Blue, Levon, Maxo11X, Chris Sturman, MDB3000, Amelia Bunny, Amanda Gillies, Big Mike Shirley, Cacti Lady Wither, Cho, Daniel Delapena, Deborah Douglas, Dr. A, Vin Yi, Horatio T, Justin Godsey, Kitty Sparkles, Clipper, Barbie, Ouroboros, Rob Sop, Sammy, Sandyman, Spoonie the Rogue, V stands for, William Ash, Jacob K, Camper Supreme, Megan Breeze, Psychic Kumquat, Alex Anakin, Alan Fang, Knit1 Code 2, Lil Spoon, Ms. Mayhem, Staples aka Jerry Yeet, Ben Pott, Francois Tremblay, Myopa Game, Nick Lucarelli, and Petulant Panda. Thanks again. Have a great day, everyone, and make sure you don't have a girl over in your room before Elliot does. He hates that shit.